never met. It's so nice to meet you.
Same here.
All right, we're gonna start in about 30 seconds. And this is not formal. This is very informal. We are going to have great conversations. It is about getting the people who matter, who are doing it at a high level, in a room together, sort of, to have these conversations. And then hopefully, if it's valuable, which I'm assuming since you all have value to give, we'll be able to do this every month so that you have something you can look forward to with other top agents from around our region. Because we all know every once in a while, it's nice to hear from someone who's closing 7,000 units in Idaho, but it's a little challenging to make that connection every once in a while. So I think it's important that we have a conversation with people in our own region who are dealing with the same problems that we're dealing with, the same laws with COVID, the same buyers, all of that. And I'm just be a mutant ninja here today. If I can only pin, I think like 10 people. So I'm not going to pin anybody unless we're starting to talk, and then I'll pin you while you're chatting. But just so you know, if you are on the Zoom call and you got this Zoom link magically, this Zoom link is meant for our top agents. So make sure if you have a question, you're putting it in the chat, and then we will make sure we get to every question at the end. If you are on Facebook Live right now, I'm going to pull up your Facebook, and I'll be able to see the comments that are going on Facebook so we can all make sure we're on the same page. If you have any questions, make sure you're putting them in the comments section on Facebook or putting them in the chat section on Zoom. All right, so let me introduce myself real quick. My name is Joey DiBenedetto. I'm the team leader for 2 market centers in the Bay Area, for Cupertino and for Palo Alto, which literally I don't think you can throw a realtor. If you throw a realtor, you'll hit another Keller Williams. So we're very close to one another. And we've got the amount of people who said yes to being a part of this, by the way, is astonishing. So just in this group of human beings that said yes, we have over $1 billion in sales volume and almost $500 million in listing volume. $500 million in listing volume. That's astonishing. So what we're here to do today is have a conversation. I have a couple questions for you that we'll use as guides, but really it's a matter of making sure that the value is here for you all and that people watching are going to get it as well. So the first question that I'll ask, and there's really no rhyme or reason to who wants to talk. If you feel like you want to raise your hand or if you just want to unmute yourself, I'm sure we can figure it out. The first question is, in the market that we're in right now, what are you doing differently than you were 2 years ago to take more opportunity in listings? What has changed this year, especially, or even now specifically, that you're doing differently than you were even 2 years ago, or is it the same?
I got one.
Yeah, please.
Before, moving wasn't a big issue. Now you have to help coordinate sellers with moving, finding movers for them, planning, executing that, providing just a little bit more than in the past.
So you're finding that having more back-end services that deal with the actual listing itself is providing you more value?
Oh, absolutely. We've been, instead of, hey, go ahead and move, it's, okay, this is a little, it's pandemic time. What movers are doing right now? So, we've been hooking people up with pods. We've been hooking up with people with packing services. And prior to this year, I never did that.
Gotcha. Do you find are you using that as a value proposition when you're going on the listing presentation now?
Oh, absolutely. It's, hey, Mr. Seller, we know it's an unusual time to move, so let us help you. Here's some of our resources.
Awesome. Is anyone else offering more services now than they did previously?
Yeah, I'll pop in real quick. This is Chris Allison, Silicon Valley. I'm finding that what he's saying is true because there's so little inventory and so many agents that, like Josh Team, our previous CEO, said, if you don't talk to your client about once every week, 50% chance they're going to go with someone else. So if you aren't, that's the one thing we're doing is talking to our clients more. It's like all the time. It's like every day we're trying to reach out and talk to the ones who haven't signed yet. And then number 2 is providing services that are above and beyond you would ever think. Because if an agent's only going to get one listing a year and that's all they've got is that one, you're competing against people that are going to be like, all over the client. So you got to provide moving services and cleaning and window washing and pressure washing and staging and so forth in ways that we maybe normally never used to, and broadcast it before we list the property because everybody's competing so tough with a seller, because your seller, when you go and you meet with your seller, they may have talked to, or someone, 5, 6, 7, 8 agents may have been trying to, get in with this client. And if they've got you, you've got to say, I'm going to provide more than just a yard sign and on the MLS and pray that it sells.
Yeah. Anybody else?
The message for me has changed. I just tell people it's safe to sell, right? That's the new message, safe to sell.
No, I would like to add to touch on what Chris said and what Diego said, is it's true. I used to be able to go on a listing appointment and not have, it'd be very rare. Maybe they would have, they would be interviewing 1 or 2 agents. Now I'm finding the last listing that I luckily got, I was competing against 8 different listing agents, literally competing with them. And so what we have to do is, how can we stand out? And it's really about that relationship, building that trust, and offering more services. And I still stand behind, we still have these discount listing agents out there, and we're underselling ourselves. And I do still find that people will pay more for the services, and they want to make sure that they're getting that top dollar. They want that. And so, being able to offer those services so that their product looks really sharp is how we can get them top dollar.
And so that's interesting. That's an interesting dilemma, because, everyone hears about the buyer's market and how competitive the buyer's market is. I don't think we talk a whole lot about how competitive the listing market has become. So is the value proposition in services the only thing that you feel like, or the main thing that you've changed in your listing conversation? Or are there other items?
If I can jump in here, one of the things that we're finding is that sellers are looking at listing agents now as a commodity, no longer as a service. And when you look at something as a commodity, it's like a barrel of oil. What's the cheapest possible price that you can get for that commodity? And so we're not only facing lower commissions, we're finding that we've got to do all kinds of things to differentiate from everybody else. And we're dealing with Compass, Century 21, Coldwell Banker, who all have full-blown concierge services behind them. So we have to go in with the assumption not only are we going to have concierge level, of course, we're in the heart of the Silicon Valley in the Bay Area, so intense pressure. If somebody's going to buy a $2 million house that's 1,200 square feet, it better be a heck of a house. So intense pressure to make sure that we go into that listing presentation with a level of services that removes us from the commodity category and puts us into an actual service that the seller wants.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, Dave. Oh, for some reason, I can't hear you, my friend. Let's see.
One thing, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, please. Dave, come unmute yourself when he's finished, and hopefully we can hear you. Go ahead, Rob.
Okay. One thing I had the gentleman who just spoke. I'm sorry I don't see him on the screen, so I'm not sure if I have the name right. But it actually ties into what everybody else said. One of the things that we've learned is everybody boasts about themselves. So one of the things we do is we proactively offer for any prospective client who's looking to list is say, I'll connect you with the last clients we just sold for last spot. We've done that 4 listings in a row when we knew we were in competition, because everybody's going to say great things about themselves. When a client who's worked with you has had a great experience, both from the value that you created and just the experience, the fact that you took care of so much, they just had to get out of the way and let you do your job, that goes a long way. And the last one we won, they had 9 folks that they visited with, 9 realtors. And I sent them 5 numbers, put them in a group text. 2.5 later, the gentleman called back and said, "Man, these guys love you. You must be the guy for us to go with." And Elk and I got that listing.
So not only did you provide provide seamless services, you also gave them the opportunity to get essentially a referral while you're busy there working with them.
Absolutely, because you have to separate yourself from everybody else. Everybody else is boasting about themselves. And of course, we would say good things and share all that we've done. But now you let somebody else do, because what we say, it with some grain of salt, right? But a consumer who they think has got no vested interest and who's had first-hand experience working with you, they share how great their experience was, the value that they got. That's just an entirely different dimension and separates you from everybody else. And the way we say it, listen, this is not cherry picking. These are the last 5 sales. You can call whoever you'd like to call.
I like that, Rob.
I know, same here. I'm like, oh my God, that's amazing.
Yeah, I like that. Thank you for that tip.
Can I ask, how many of them actually call somebody?
So the last gentleman called 2 out of the 5. The couple that we just got the listing from San Jose, they called, I know, at least 1. And another, they texted back and forth with a couple, 3 of them. So I think everybody's, one of them actually had an hour-long conversation with one of the sellers. So, one of the things we always set it up with any client we're working with, when we first meet is, look, I coined a phrase, I call it Thrive 11, that there's an ancient proverb that says 1 and 1 together makes 11. And essentially what I tell the clients is, anytime in life, if you work together, you use your synergies, you won't just thrive, you'll thrive exponentially. But we'll do our part first. We'll ensure you get the absolute best service. We'll ensure you get the absolute best value. And then if you have had that kind of stellar experience working with us, then I would ask of you to return that favor going forward. Anytime you know anybody who's looking to sell, who's looking to buy, you say, these are the guys to go to. If I need for me with these, so when I'm in a listing appointment and I connect you with somebody in a group text, you'd be willing to take that time to have that engagement, whether it's through call or text. So people will reciprocate, and it goes a long way. And one of the other things that it really does is when you tell people, this is how I'm going to take care of you, but I'm going to only wait to ask for reciprocation until after we're done. One thing it does is at that point they're trying to assure you how they know the world and how they're going to get you so many referrals. So it almost guarantees them wanting to go with you because they buy in. If you're going to do that for me, I want you to do it for me. So it's not just future sales. It almost sets you apart for them for that particular listing appointment that you're at.
That's my aha today. Thank you for that.
All right, so she can leave. We're only 16 minutes in. She got everything she needed. That's awesome. Awesome.
Hey, Rob, do you set that up as part of your listing appointment? Is, hey, everything goes well and you appreciate my service. Do you mind if I have future clients call you?
Absolutely. That's something that I set it up right from the beginning. And it's not something that I mention as in, would you mind? I always talk about, we're in this as partnership going forward. I'm going to work with you as if this is a joint venture. So I'll do my part, and then I'm going to ask you to do your part, but I'm not going to ask for that until after you've been well taken care of and you self-recognize that you've been well taken care of.
100%. I like that, Rob.
I'm also really hearing that you're setting the standard of what they can expect and what you can expect from the very beginning. So there's no question about when you ask at the end, when a time comes, they know that they agreed to what you're about to say yes to.
Absolutely. It's reciprocity. It's principle. So, we've got to run the conversation and direct it, but it's that's as good of a, not just a win-win, but both win big. And you're setting that premise up right from the beginning.
Yeah.
Rob, basically you're asking, when you ask for referrals, so basically you're asking for referrals from the very beginning. Is that what you're trying to say, right?
Absolutely. But what I do say, listen, I'm not going to ask for it until after I have, you have firsthand had the chance to experience that sort of stellar performance from us. But you're setting the premise. I used to teach business negotiations, and there was a term that we used called acceptance time. People need time to accept an idea. If it's not their idea, they need time to accept an idea. So you plant that seed right from the beginning. And like I said, you do separate yourself from everybody else, because I've never come across somebody else who does that.
But ultimately, you have to prove yourself. So yeah, I see what you're saying, Rob. You're kind of setting up the stage, but you're, obviously letting them know that they're going to experience it. And if they're happy, then obviously it's going to be contagious, and they're going to want to be your advocate.
Yes.
Dave, sorry, go ahead, Manpreet.
Yeah, so I really like that idea. What I do is, a lot of time when I'm meeting my listing clients, my sellers, new sellers, and if previous sellers are not available, at the closing, when my sellers are super excited, I usually make a testimonial video, which I save with me. When I go on my new appointments, people who don't know me, if they're buyers or sellers, either way. I go through those testimonial videos and I share, okay, if you want to connect with them, I can connect them with you. So that is a wonderful idea, but I just save that cap moment just in case if the persons are not available, I have something to show.
For the rest of your business career, I mean, you can as the more homes you sell, the opportunity you have to go back to those videos. It's awesome.
All the time, and nothing beats a recorded video. Yes, people write the reviews, and we do all those. These recorded small videos, even with your iPhone selfie kind of videos, they are marvelous. They have worked always.
Fantastic. Dave, are you? Did you get you unmuted? No. Okay. Anybody else have anything that they're doing uniquely? Dean, I know you were on the regional call a little while ago. You had some very unique things that keep your commissions high, one, and also maintain some really cool relationships. Would you mind sharing those one more time?
Sure. Thanks, Jody. Gosh, put me on the spot. Yeah, so, it's an interesting conversation because I think if you step back 2 years ago, I think we all, this conversation was so much different 2 years in this mad scramble up until the pandemic hit to just generate more volume. And I think we forgot a little bit about the kinds of things that we're talking about today, which is the experience, the relationship, the additional services that we provide. I think those are things that we should have always been doing, but we got away from it. And I think we played right into the hand of Zillow and Redfin and all these guys, because we kind of became robots. We were just banging out deals and we weren't really doing the things that we were talking about in this conversation today. And so to me, it's a really good experience of taking a deep breath, stepping back and saying what's really important in our business here. And it is the relationships and it is the experience. It always was. And I think when we got away from that, those guys sort of crept in and started to get into our space. I love the fact that we're now going back into that role of the fiduciary and that trust, and that's so important in our business. And I think that's ultimately what is going to create the success. In answer to Joe's question, I have a pretty basic program. I'm a listing agent. I'm a 100% listing since the day I started 25 years ago. So I'm big on farming. I've farmed forever. I'm surprised that people aren't farming, to be honest with you, because that's how I get listings. And last year, I think of my sales last year, I think 40 million were just listings. And so ultimately, it's been a great business for me. I grab onto those listings and I hold on as long as possible. Yeah. But I have one in escrow right now that I've been working on and off for 14 years. And I know that's probably a shocker for most of you guys. But Maui is a little bit of a different market. And I think ultimately, having those listings has been an amazing run for me. I generally have around 30 plus listings at any given time. And I think 100% listing driven is key for me because ultimately I couldn't be working with 30 active buyers right now. So if we're trying to see this, being a listing agent is the only way, in my opinion. And it's the reason I'm 100% committed and dedicated to getting listings, and I don't market for anything else other than listing. My marketing program is farming, mail outs, it's social media, and it's e-blast. It's a really simple program.
Has your message changed in your farming or your e-blast in the last couple of years? Like, is it the same stuff, or what's different?
It has. It's become much more personal, and I'm sharing a lot more about my personal life than I ever was, and I think it's building relationships, and that's important. So yeah, a little bit more personal, and people are just in the mood to have those conversations, and I think it's important. Yeah. So it's not an expensive program, but I've been committed to it for a long time, and I think the success of the program is hyper-focused on a community. So I don't go in and cast my net across an entire region and try to be an expert on that area. I pick a community or a neighborhood or a building and I zero in on that building until I own it. And then once I've had that success, I move on to creeping into the market more. But what I've realized is that all of the success I'm having 25 years now into this business, almost, I wouldn't say 100%, 90% based on that original success and that original farm program that I did originally 25 years ago that I haven't quit on. So consistency is the name of that game. But ultimately, I'll net 96% of my commission because it's an expensive program, and I don't get distracted by the shiny objects. I'm super focused on my niche and my area, and I just drive for listings until I'm successful in those markets. And that's how I've been able to expand into different markets, but leveraging my original success of a farming program that I started 25 years ago. That hasn't changed. So, my big change for me, stop chasing all the shiny objects and doing all these crazy things that I got distracted by trying to compete for volume, and go back to the core of my business, which is the relationships. And I decided when COVID started that I wasn't going to pursue any new leads, that I would only go after and market and communicate with people that I touched once in the past, and really focus on those relationships. And just like the conversations we had today, really elevate that experience, and I'm getting so many more referrals out of it. Sorry, that was a mouthful. I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, I'm like, I need a drink and maybe a cigarette, and I don't even smoke. That was phenomenal. That's crazy. Okay, let me just sort of recreate what I heard there. The first thing I heard is that you have been doing the basics for a long time, consistent. Basics have been paying off, and you've created essentially a model around those basics and used that model to jump into other markets once you've established yourself in a market. So instead of going wide and long, you went narrow and deep.
Absolutely. So I went completely the opposite. Everyone was trying to grab as many clients, and a lot of them were raw clients and Facebook leads and all that kind of stuff, which I love. I think they're great building databases. But for me, I was at this point where I really wanted to hone in on the people that
If you can hear me, I'm going to go ahead and try to fix what's going on. I don't see why it's freezing on my end yet. But it will allow me to fix it. Oh, there we go. They'll be fixing it shortly. Let me see if I can get it back on my phone. Maybe I can share it that way. Just hold tight. And I have it recorded and they have it recorded. So you won't be missing anything. It's just one of those technology deals. So give me just a moment. We just in a private Facebook group with our office. There we go. I hope this isn't the beginning. We'll see.
That we have that no computer can provide, or no online system can provide. We have the superpower.
The name of the game in this conversation right now, did I do a good job, Dave? Okay. The name of the game, it sounds like, is providing a higher level of service to whoever it is that chooses to be in business with us. How are we, okay, that's an understandable concept. So then how do you share that with your
Oh my gosh.
people to actually get the opportunity to do it? That's the hardest part, right? Once you're in the room, it's easy to leverage.
From years and years and years ago, from 33 touch, 8x8s, and so forth. So 12 listings that are going to be coming on any moment, which are come list me calls, not competition. When we get competition ones, those are the people that you just meet, and then you're competing, and those are harder listings to get. So farming, psychographic farming, your own database is one of the biggest things. Staying in communication, staying in the contact, I think, is one of the key differentiations, is letting them know upfront what you do, so when they come and talk to you, they already know. It's like not a secret listing presentation, broadcast your listing presentation to everybody in your database. all the time, every possible chance you can get. So,
Ashley, you're down there shaking your head yes to this. Can you share something?
For me, it's just like a lot of repeat business and loving up on people, you know, so the whole just loving up on your clients is really what brings in those phone calls.
Gotcha. So what are we doing differently now to generate more opportunity? Are we doing the same thing, but has the message changed? And who had like a distinct change that they've made in their business because of the environment that we're in?
Hi, my name is Coco Tan. I'm with Silicon Valley office, actually the Campbell office. So I like what Dave said. We used to have a lot of open houses, and then that's where we generate the leads, but we don't have open houses anymore. So I decided to open up seminars. So I do my Tuesday afternoon networking seminar, and then like what Chris Alston just said, not only present your skills to existing clients, but also broadcast it, tell people what you do. So I made it open to public. So it's not just for my existing clients, for anybody who want to join, even open for agents. So that's what I do. Yeah. But very, very impressive. Congratulations for the great success. Then how do you handle your 30 listings at any moment simultaneously? And also, how often do you farm, if you don't mind sharing that?
Sure. Hi, Coco. Yes, I try to do it once a month, but I'm probably doing it every other month. On my last farm later, I got 4 listings, which was amazing. That's one of my best. Sorry, what was your first question? How often I know is your, how do I manage 30 listings? Yeah,
when you have 30 listings simultaneously, what's your system to handle that so that you're not like, oh my gosh, you know, which listing offers do you win? You know, maybe you have like 5 listings offered during one day, right? So it's very, yeah.
Right. So I'm actually doing a lot of pre-qualification is what I'm doing. And so I pre-qualify the clients. I make sure that they're familiar with the area and the location. And I really run through a pretty stringent application before I show. And also, these properties aren't being shown as frequently as your properties are on you know, in the Bay Area. So I'm able to juggle it a little bit easier than probably you all can, just based on the volume and number of showings that I get. And I also have 2 assistants that I work with pretty closely that are like best friends, and they do a lot of the stuff to get between them. And I think that really is a great help. For me as an individual agent in luxury, you know, my team is admin driven. So I tend to have a lot of admin support, which allows me to get out there and do the showings and run around and service the clients and the listings. So yeah, it doesn't make sense if you're from, you know, where you guys are from and having that many listings, but in Maui, we can make that work. And ultimately, we don't get as many showings as you do.
When you
get as many as 80 listings at one time.
Did you say the word 80 listings? Is that the word?
I had 80 listings, and I realized that was probably too much, and that I sort of gave it up at the same time that I made this transition into focusing on my people that I had contact with, so that I scaled back on a lot of that, so I could give more to those people. So yeah.
So Dean, are you making requests of other agents to present more about their clients prior to ever walking through the front door?
I do, because I think we get a lot of sort of sightseeing and touring nowadays with limited inventory. You know, everyone wants to see something, and it seems like half the time the people are just looking because they've got nothing else to show. And so I try to make sure that they know what they're looking at, and if they don't, I have one listing that I probably turned down 50% of the showing requests. It's a very unique property, and that's really driven by the owner, not by, you know, my preference.
But I have to imagine that your owners love hearing that. Your owners love hearing that it's not going to be everybody off of Zillow coming in to see the property. There will be qualified buyers who walk through the front door.
Correct. And especially with COVID, you know, no one wants people just running through for no reason, and everyone's sensitive to their space. And so that's a great excuse for us to be able to do such deep, you know, pre-qualification. 2 years ago, I was not doing that much. People were offended when I did. But I think now when you couch it with COVID, I have a very COVID-sensitive client, and I have this process that I have to go through, and most people will accept that.
That's amazing. Jason, can you just say what you wrote? Because I think it'll be better if it's your voice and not mine. Uh-oh. Did I lose Jason Moon?
Jerry, Can I say something that I've started to add?
Please, my goodness, yeah.
So the biggest move that I've made, and I've been doing a lot of masterminds with other top agents in the area, and one of the things that I've noticed a lot of them had was VA, virtual assistants. Once I started that at the beginning of this year, I've been generating 1 to 2 listings, not listing appointments, and probably 4 listing appointments a month, just from having a VA making really cold calls.
When you say cold calls, are they calling your database? Are you lead generating for those leads? How are you? What's that look like?
We're going off of expired listings from 2 years ago. There's a couple of marketing programs like Facebook leads that are usually 1 out of 30 type sellers. So I mean, the worst of the worst of lead, but they are leads, and they're digging up gold from that. Right now, I'm paying about $1,000 a month, and I'm getting 5 to 10x return on that VA. And almost every single top agent group that I'm a part of, they all have VAs.
And Diego,
every single one of them.
When you took your VA, did you train them personally, or what did the training process for that VA look like?
Okay, so I cheated. My VA was already trained, and the client that she had prior was a pretty big team. They were doing like 400 or 500 deals, and they're already trained up. They're already familiar with the lead programs already. So it was a really nice transition.
That's awesome.
And how long have you been using the VA?
Beginning of this year, and I'm probably setting about 4 appointments a month from those, and then I'm closing one of those. Now they're at different stages for sure. So some of these are going to end up. These are seeds we're planting. They're probably going to ripen in 6 months. They're not quite ready, but I mean, these are all solid appointments.
That's
There
awesome.
you go. Where's your VA located at?
Manila, Philippines.
So when they call, right? So what if they get into do not call trouble? Do they call just directly with your names, like from your team?
So the leads that we have are actual leads that they responded to either a Facebook ad or one of our lead sources ads. So if they are do not call, I mean, they responded to us. So they're cold leads, but they're not us taking a phone book.
They've given their information. They've given consent to share the information.
Okay. So the expired and the cancel calls, we call those too, but almost like no results. Feels like a waste of time, but maybe we are not doing it right.
You know what? The thing that I do, because I think it's fair, I'm results driven, is I do a bonus of $250. It doesn't sound like a huge amount, but for her, it's amazing. She can double her income in a month, depending on what she gets. So any closing we get, I also give her $250 per closing, and that seemed to keep her motivated and keep her calls up quite a bit.
Interesting.
We've got an ISA
So
department
the
as
Facebook
well.
ad, so you start doing your Facebook ad and then people responding to you. That's what it is, right?
It's Facebook ads. There's a couple other lead generating sites that I have that really weren't that great for me. So I use a couple different ads out there. So I have a couple different. You could DM me and I'll give you the different ones I use, but they're all low return type ads. So I pay like $250. I get 30 leads. Well, most leads are crap, but we continue working. And then I use Top Producer for just her, and she updates them on Top Producer. I mean, we've had results already from that.
Like the database, right? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So this month alone, I had a listing that we're going to be putting on the market this week. That came from the VA. That was a $700,000 listing in Tracy, and cost me $1,000 for the whole month for her, and that was just one of the appointments. This month alone, we probably set up 6 other listing appointments just from the VA. Again, this is one route that I do. So it's not my only lead program, but this is something that I'm getting a lot of return on. And I should have listened to some of these other top agents when they have 2 or 3 VAs.
Okay.
Yeah, Carl, let me have you come in on this because I know you use a lot of VAs and you have a lot of ISAs in your program as well.
Correct. We've got 4 ISAs. We got 4 VAs as well. One of those VAs is an ISA. and works out very, very well.
So where do you, I think the question that a lot of people have, so there's two things. There's some limiting beliefs on what a VA from another country who's not in the room with you can actually do, can actually accomplish. And then the second usually limiting belief is, I don't have enough time to train this VA to do it the way I want it to be run. And so I'm risking my business by having somebody else go out there and share my message. So how do you take care of, I mean, having 4 VAs, 4 ISAs, how do you make sure that your standard of service remains high?
For the in-house ISAs, that's really easy. We've got a lead generation specialist that basically trains and runs the ISA department. He's phenomenal. In terms of the VAs, you go through one of our VAs, for example, is coming to us through Brevity, and those are very well-trained individuals. So we don't have to worry about the quality from that perspective. Obviously, we have to run them through our own grid, our own training, et cetera. But the VAs that we use, and we've gone through a number of them. It takes a while to find them, the ones that are going to give you the quality that you want, and that's the same with any team member, really. But just keep at it, and when you finally land the people that really work, they really, really work very, very well.
What do you find is conversion for a great ISA on the team, or what do you seek in conversion? And the same thing with you, Diego. What are you seeking in conversion?
Conversion for us, really, it differs depending on the source. So if we're doing circle prospecting, those numbers are going to be quite low, obviously. But we also have a 15-second maximum response time on a lot of the inbound leads through different lead generation sources like Dave Ramsey, Homelight, et cetera. And if we can get those 15-second response times, the conversion rate in those is usually very, very high. We're 95% of the time, if we're competing with 3 other agents, we're the first one to hit the client, and that makes a massive difference.
Yeah. Let me, Diego, go ahead. I'm going to pull over to the Facebook chat and just read some of these questions, see if we can get some answers, or if I can answer them. What's your seeking conversion?
So one thing I think that Carl will justify this is their English is amazing, better than mine. Thanks to American TV, their English is really, really good. And we're able to get, for $1,000 a month, I'm getting a very educated VA. I'm definitely, in the next quarter, I'm definitely looking to add one more. But the conversion, Carl's absolutely right. If it's circle prospecting, it's going to be much, much less. If it's a home light lead, which I also get, it's going to be much greater. We're pretty much set an appointment up. I do another company called Z Buyer. Those are junk leads. So 1 out of 30 of those, I'm going to hopefully just set up an appointment. And a lot of times once I set those up, they're just kicking tires. But for us, the ones I'm seeing the biggest return from were Facebook. I was getting no traction whatsoever. But from what I've seen is a lot of those Facebook leads, they're terrible up front, but they're great on the back end, meaning that 2 months down the road when we're following up on those, they become much, much better. So I related with fruit. They start to ripen much better 3 months down the line.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that statistic shows that it may take 9 to 12 months for the internet lead to come to fruition. But most the ISAs or most of our salespeople want that initial, oh my God, it's amazing right now, which is great, but you've got to keep up with them. And then 9 to 12 months, the person who's staying in touch with them gets it. And so if we stop, we get the lead and we love it. But if we stop loving on it over those 6 to 9 months, they'll go with somebody else. So as long as you're staying in touch with that lead all the way to that in 6, 9, 12 months, then you've got an amazing pipeline.
I think the statistic is 17 touches before you convert a client. We just keep touching over and over again, and after a while it pays off.
17 touches. Like, somebody take a note. Okay, just take a note, write it down, put it in there. All right, let me go on to the next question. Does anyone else have anything they want to add to this section? Okay, next question is going to be, you all know that how many of you are receiving more than one offer on a property? Just raise your hand if you've, in the last 10 seconds, have received more than one offer on a property. Thank you so much. Okay, this buyer's market is absolutely insane. So 2 questions here is, what are agents doing that is putting them in the running as a better offer that's not just about price? What have you seen other buyers agents do for you as a listing agent that another agent can listen to and take away, like, oh man, this buyer's agent came in and they did this, this, and this, and it knocked it out of the park? What's a unique value proposition you've seen?
I can answer. I mean, I'm sure everybody can answer, but these removing of contingencies are golden. They're almost as good as cash. So when you're seeing a lot of the removals of contingencies, you know, once they check in that EMD, they're invested. So high EMDs and removals of contingencies are really what is really setting the bar higher than the other offers. Of course, gotcha. Price is also important.
Do you find that your sellers are more willing to take a lower offer if there's no contingencies and a higher EMD?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, obviously money talks, but they've got to back it up. And I educate my clients, they can offer you, you know, whatever, but if we're going to have an appraisal issue, then they're going to wind up, you know, unless they're going to remove those contingencies or bridge that gap, then it's really, you know, it's just throwing something that's not even reality.
Yeah.
The caveat is that deposit has to be in escrow within 24 hours.
Yes, I've been seeing that a lot too.
You know, in Silicon Valley, really quick, Silicon Valley, all their offers are coming in zero contingencies. They're all coming zero contingencies. They're all 25 days or less close of escrow. So how do you differentiate, I think, is that question, because everybody's market's different. So just to give the clarification of this market. So when offers come in, we're going to get 9 or 10 or 11 or 12 offers, depending upon if the offer is great, like Carl was saying, if it's a perfect property. So I'm going to have 11 losers and one winner, and everybody has their story, their sob story about their client. Everybody has something that's so amazing why they should win, and everybody wants to keep going up in the price. But I find that 5 days prior to or the offered date, the person that's talking to me the most and becoming my friend and chatting with me and explaining things and not pushing me, but getting little bits of information and talking and texting and enjoying and cross-pollinating from people that we both know, to the point when offers come in, I'm already in communication with them, and that usually as the primary person that may be the winner. So it's not necessarily the highest price, because if the highest price comes in at 1.1 and they're at 1.050 and the seller says, who do you like? And I say, well, this person I've talked to all week, the seller may say, well, will they go up to 1.055? And I go, I don't know. Let me go and see. If they go up to 1.055, we'll give it to them, because we're doing zero multiple offers. I don't think I've done a multiple offer in the last year. It's all just been one person that we like tends to be the one, not we, the seller, because I can't make that decision, is the one that moves across the finish line. So occasionally someone comes in the last minute and kicks everybody out of the water with an amazing price, but it's just that person who talks to me and enjoys me and we enjoy talking to each other is usually the one who has the advantage moving in. So when I'm rep for the buyer's agents on the team, I help them understand that negotiation doesn't start when the offer date is. Negotiation starts a week before the actual offer date. And a lot of times they'll take a preemptive before the offer date. So you got to stay in that daily communication with the listing agent without being annoying AF.
Can I ask just a quick question in between these? Because I know that more people have to share. When you see that we're taking offers on Wednesday and it's Saturday, do you take that as truth, or do you submit your offer beforehand? Or if someone submits an offer, do you take it still?
I call that agent. I'll call that agent and confirm. Because unless they didn't write on the MLS that the seller will not accept, well, actually, even if they did, I still call and I confirm verbally, and I let them know before accepting anything else, give us a chance. I've had it happen twice recently when working with buyers where a listing agent did put on the MLS a due date, and I checked the remarks 2 days later, only 1 day of not touching base with them, and the remarks have changed, and you call and you find out they got 3 offers the day before and they were going to wait till Monday, but they got $1 million, and so now their seller's going to make a decision. So like you said already, Joey, you have to communicate, but on some of them, when I can tell the listing agent is not firm on their word, we'll just submit it that night, because why not? Why not just give our buyer the best? We'll put our best foot forward. We'll put all the terms that we would have put in on the due date anyway. And if it's appealing to the seller, great. And if it's not, well, we already put our best foot forward.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, you know what's also helpful too, I don't think we touched on this, is, a lot of these sellers need that bridge. And so asking those questions, do they need rent back? And then a lot of these buyers giving free rent back is really very helpful as well. So that's another carrot that you can throw that really seems to be appealing to the sellers.
Yeah. Renee, you're over there shaking your head yes.
And then the last other thing that I was going to say is I've noticed, and I think this is actually pretty creative, these buyer's agents, once they know that we're not going to be reviewing offers prior to the due date, they're waiting to reveal they're not showing their cards until the very last minute. And I think that's actually pretty genius on the buyer's agent's part, because we're not sharing it with anybody else, right? And so I'm seeing that a lot. They'll wait until like literally the minute of and submit their offer.
Better be a good offer at that point.
Yeah, that's true. But
adding on to Chris' point, because we have multiple offers and everybody's non-contingent, I actually received an offer before. I don't know how legal, how much liability the buyer's agent will have. But for one of my listings, one of the agents they've offered a lot more in the deposit. And also, well, of course, we know only 3% will be at risk if anything happens. But they basically said in 10 days, the buyer agreed to release the 3% deposit to the seller. And then they have a lot more tied up in the escrow. So that was very risky, I think, for the buyer's agent, but that's what they did. And that kind of got the seller noticing them. Oh, wow. So the seller took their offer. Of course, their price is good too. So, but it's I personally feel it's very risky, but I'm on the seller side. So what can I say, right?
My next buyer is going to your one of your listings is going to have that written in it, Coco.
I feel so bad because I'm like, wow, what are you doing? It's like, I'm actually amazed about the offer. So the agent said, we have to be creative in order for us to get our offer accepted. I said, okay, so I presented to the seller. Sure enough, that was very attractive. And of course, another listing, the buyer was an investor. They're doing 1031 exchange. So they put a lot more deposit than 3%. That, of course, helps, right? Because the deposit amount is very attractive and it's for investors. So they're not limited to the 3% if anything happens. So that also, so more deposit for your buyer's offer. But of course, that's just a risk, that's a liability we cannot speak about. And also it's not something I can demand either. So whatever your buyer's agent feel comfortable.
I gotta say with Coco, whenever I have a listing, Coco will call me and be like, hey, Chris, how are you? Hey, what's going on? And she'll just talk and ask, hey, so what's it going to take? What's this? So even though she has a big team and does a crap ton of business, it's her that's calling me. So sometimes if you have teams and your sub-agents are writing the contracts, sometimes it's good for you to pick up the phone and call because I know you guys, right? I see your guys' picture and hear from you calling. I'll be like, oh, dude, look who's calling me. Hey, how are you? And I'd be like, what's going on? And then I realize, oh, okay. So I think it's important, that aspect of seeing.
Oh, thank you. And it's always good to pick Chris's brain. So that's why I was calling him.
You're the superstar.
Renee, go ahead. And then I'm going to get John right after this.
Well, my point was back to when we're talking about putting offers ahead of time. I think just submit it because, when people are taking offers without you and they've changed the MLS and they've done these things, I'm with Jason. Just put the offer in, and then you did right by your buyer because that buyer's gonna be super upset with you. You told me to wait to put my offer in, so just put it in. Especially with some of these systems we have now, Glide or Disclosures.io, I don't even look at the offer. And put the expiration date out past that. Let them know, just in case something changes with you, you have my offer. And so, and no pressure to you even as a listing agent, no pressure. But I noticed they were doing that in our area in Antioch and Brentwood. They were just sending the offers because I think it was just happening too much to them. And so much as I want to wait till the last minute, I think it's like, just send it over. It's probably not going to change depending on whatever that is.
Let me ask sort of a blunt question. Is anybody upset when they get an offer before the due date? Is everyone like, oh, how dare you send me a great offer before I asked for you to send me a great offer?
Well, yes, sometimes when you're pressuring me. So yes.
Oh,
So if you're pressuring me about that, it's more of a, like, I just want you to have it. And here's the expiration date. No pressure back on you. I'll take that all day. But if you're trying to pressure me and I've had that, well, you better get, we've all heard it. So then I'm just, whatever I can do to not work with you, but just putting your offer in and saying, I just don't want to be, I've just gotten burned too many times. I think absolutely. I feel for these agents and these buyers.
Yeah.
I like
Go
the idea for putting the expiration date long, so that actually gives listing agent more time to prepare. Because when we get so many offers, we want to do a comparison for the seller, so seller doesn't they don't have to read through each offer. So if you present your offer earlier, I have more time to work on your offer. So I really appreciate that. But I don't. Renee, you're right. If you ask me to respond in 2 hours, that just threw everybody off. It's like, oh, we set up so many appointments for later, and then you have to tell people that I'm sorry that we cannot show anymore. It's just it's a lot of hassle, a lot more work. So as long as you put the expiration after, like maybe 24 hours after the due date, I think that's good. Yeah.
I've actually never taken a preemptive offer. I've never done it. Because the most likely these agents or this buyer is going to wait 3 days, and if you're not, then you probably weren't my offer anyway. You're just out there trying to shove something in, and then I take it off and I've pushed everybody else away, told them to put their offer in now. It just became a mess. I'm like, never again. And it's not usually my best offer anyway, the one that's trying to be so pushy with that. I'm like, let's just wait. If I've put it out there, let's just wait. And so I just feel like it helps everybody, and it keeps my word out there in the community as well. Of course I would present the offer if it had and I let my seller know, but they're making that decision as well. So I just think it's like, just wait. And
so I'm hearing across the board that it's okay to be aggressive, but it's really not okay to be too assertive after you decide to make the aggressive move. Like, let it lie, build the relationship, be kind, make sure they like you, let them know that this is easygoing, but take my offer, but also here's my offer, but also don't worry.
It's a fine line, right? It's a fine line between it is such a fine line between being annoying and asking too many. You're like, oh my gosh, one more thing, but it is. It's just that right level of woo.
Okay, John, go ahead.
Well, just to the point of what buyer agent can do to impress you is you have their lender call you as an agent or send an email, just so you know that as part of the team, the buyer's lender knows how well qualified they are, and that you can work well with them, and the deal is going to get closed from a lending standpoint. So I've always been impressed with that. An interesting sidelight is, and I agree with Renee, is that with the preemptive, you got to be really clear with your seller. What ifs, something comes in, do you want me to open it up? Do you want me to look at it? Do you want to know about it? Or are we going to stick to the date that we are putting in the MLS? Because today, I have a home that we had, 6 downloads of disclosures, but we're only coming in with one offer. And this is a home that's, we priced just under the most recent comp, which had gone, 100,000 over asking. So, we're setting the bar a little higher too. So I think some of these buyers are getting a little bit skeptical about, where the market is. And we decided to price it higher because we wanted a higher bar to jump from. If we only got one offer at a lower price, that's not going to be great either. So, but there's still the strategy of putting it out there low, somewhere, and hope for that kind of crazy bidding to push the price up higher. I'm just not sure where we are with inventory, because seeing new inventory every day coming on the market, and the buyers right now have a few more choices than they did before. So I think as listing agents, we have to be careful about what we're telling or giving the seller's expectations that are maybe somewhat unrealistic, and they know what happened on the home next door to them. So and sometimes that information that they have is not accurate. Oh, you heard it sold for 2,550, and find out that it was only 2.5, and then well, that's not going to be a helpful number for us if we want to get to 2.6. So, so we'll see what happens today. But I'm starting to see a little bit of a compression, and maybe it's just Menlo Park, Palo Alto, what have you, in terms of where things are being priced at, and how many buyers are actually coming to the table right now. So some feet on the ground, that I'm experiencing right now.
Compression, I think, is okay right now. Jason, go ahead and pop in that hot tip. Rob, I'll get you afterwards.
Yeah, just a quick tip for all the top listing agents. I mean, I don't think I invented this by any means, but this makes it easier for the buyer's agent and the listing agents. Is I now upload to the disclosures.io an FAQ sheet, and the FAQ sheet has the answers to all the questions that a buyer's agent calls and texts you about at midnight. right? Questions like which appliances convey, do the sellers need a rent back? If so, how long? Where are they moving to? All the questions that they ask you. What I've done to kind of eliminate that noise is just created a system where I just have it's different than the offer instructions, right? The offer instructions will tell you like, here's how to write the offer. But I just put a little FAQ sheet and it's in the disclosures.io. And then, I'm still nice and kind and try and communicate that way when buyer's agents do reach out, because I know how hard it is for them. But I'm also saying, hey, refer to the disclosures.io FAQ sheet. Answers to every question you have will be on there. And then, of course, in very rare circumstances, there will be other questions that they do have. But that has eliminated a lot of the noise and then just made it easier for the buyer's agents who are wanting to write offers on my listings.
Awesome. Rob, go ahead.
A couple of observations. Things when you hear everybody's comments, you can tell there's really no one best way. Everybody has what I refer to as your winning formula. And I think as long as you've used it and you win with it repeatedly, you win more often than you lose, you continue to press forward. But then you add some of the notes that I've been taking on my page here. So thanks to everybody for all the great comments. A couple of things I would say is I have a phrase I always say, connection will beat a commodity any day and twice on Sunday. And I think, gentlemen, Chris talked about that. I mean, that's one thing. It was being the buyer's agent that really built the platform for us. We used the Blue Ocean strategy, so we went after buyers as opposed to listings when we first started. And it's done very well for us. And now, obviously, we moved on to where we work with both. One of the things when I'm on the buying side is from early on, it's how do I build that connection? And there is a fine line between where they think you're being pushy versus you just build that personal connection. You buddy up. People will always pick people over product. And then the second thing is now that we've got listings as well, we always say, listen, I used that state buyer $11 and share with them. Listen, you help me today, I'll help you tomorrow. And I think the advantage of that is there is, again, if you refer to that win-win, and I think John just talked about how we sometimes are starting to feel like, are we starting to see some softness? You do want to have a bunch of people that you think that they're your buddies that call on you, that you want to be able to call on them when the market does soften, that you have some people who push your list to somebody else's. So I think every which way building those connections will help you both on the buying side. They'll also help you on the listing side when you need people buying your listings when things may get, because we're obviously in this for the long haul. A couple of the other things I would say, I learned early on, never use always and never say never. One of the things is sometimes selling it, preemptively may be the best thing. I think John talked about the way they priced it. You get the right dollar, you take it, you make that client feel like they won because, it's the fear of missing out instead of waiting for everybody else. And that's what everybody's saying. If they still chose your offer at the end, that means maybe you're not getting such a big deal. Perception is real. So if you've done your homework, you've got the right offer, man, pick it up, right? Versus other times, you wait until the end. I'm not a believer in sharing my number up front because I believe if somebody shared that number up front with me, I'm going to use that and I'm going to leverage that for my sellers and drive up from there. So again, I think bottom line is there's lots of ways going about it. All these folks that are on here are thriving. And so for those who are dealing with all of us, we're continuing to look and go forward and upwards. Just different situations call for different approaches. And it's just great that everybody's taking the time and sharing their winning approaches that we can all add to our arsenal, if you would.
Amen. Hey, Maura, can you just say what you wrote? Because I think it's valuable.
Yeah, we started doing this kind of earlier in COVID when the jumbo loans were tough, and especially for self-employed people trying to get jumbo loans. We started to have our preferred lender take a look at all these buyers and verify their pre-qualifications. This was super helpful for us. If you're getting 5-10 offers, a lot of these buyers weren't actually truly vetted by their own lenders. So we have our preferred lender, we have our seller sign an addendum saying that everyone needs to be verified through this preferred lender. And we haven't had any problems, and it helps us evaluate the buyers when we're looking at these offers. And our lender gives us the thumbs up or thumbs down. So it's been super helpful, and it's just kind of become our practice.
Awesome. All right, can I transition this conversation to one that I love, which is the conversation around lead generation. So everyone has their own strategy, and we got into this a little bit with the farming and all that sort of stuff, but what are you doing now to generate more listing opportunity? Or are you getting more people just calling you to list your properties now than ever before, and you don't need to generate lists? We all need to generate listings, let's just be honest with each other. But if you're getting those calls, where are your heads at right now? What are you guys doing for lead generation for specifically listings?
I'll chime in.
Yeah.
So something that I've gotten my entire team into is we actually call the neighborhoods where we farm. And if we started circle prospecting, they weren't excited about it, wasn't really working. But once we started doing the farming and we were following it up with calls shortly after, it started to resonate because they were getting 4 or 5 postcards before we started making the calls. And then I've passed into the circle prospecting, which seems to work. A little bit harder for us in Hawaii because we're not as easy to get the phone numbers for everybody. So I have to use my VA to just data mine all the numbers. So it can be a little bit of a pain, but it ends up working because not very many people call here. I think right now there's probably 3 or 4 total that are calling, and in most of our areas, no one's calling, but some of our bigger complexes they are. So we found that going a little bit old school way has started to turn a lot better results. And then we've had actually some of my newer agents, when they'll see an email that'll circulate looking for a property in this area, they'll start calling that area and say, hey, we have a prospective buyer for it. And as long as we're always calling with a real prospective buyer, it seems to work really well. So just a little bit of the old school method, going back to it, seems to be working really well for us.
Awesome.
Hey, Todd, where do you get your VA? I'm interested in the VA now.
Yeah, so actually I had a VA through another company for years, and she quit the company. So she ended up contacting me, 8-9 months later, and just use her. And I'm paying, I think it's 15 cents a name for the data mining, which can get expensive really quick, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter because she'll actually give us our emails as well. So we've actually come up with a new program that we're just putting them all on listing alerts for their neighborhoods. So kind of twofold. We don't know what that's going to look like. We're just going to keep doing that with a nice big unsubscribe button. We have had, I think, only 3 unsubscribes so far, and we're only hitting it once a month, and it's a real general looking email that shows them what's going on in the neighborhoods. So I figured, hey, I'm already getting emails. I might as well figure a way to use them.
Is that overseas VA or is it local VA?
Yeah, Philippines.
Oh, okay.
I have found I could not find it. So I have 2 different ways of looking at my VAs. If they're not making phone calls and they're just data mining or they're doing regular work, overseas is great. But in Hawaii, because the names of streets and neighborhoods can be a little hard to pronounce, I've always used somebody who lives here.
Okay, thank you.
As someone with the last name Di Benedetto, it doesn't matter what country you're from, you mess it. So it doesn't matter.
Sure.
All right, who else? What other listing lead generation sources are you guys focusing on right now?
So basically what I do, like I mentioned, I do a lot of podcasts, things like that. And I don't know whether that's a direct lead generation or is it just because we also do a lot of business here anyways. So, but I think it's very helpful for existing clients. They know that you are still active, right? So without open houses, you're still active. And they also, because the topics we talk is actually very good ones, very high quality. We don't do sales during the seminars. I actually, do you guys remember we used to have title company host all those 1031 change seminars for new agents training and then after the RESPA, they cannot do those seminars anymore, right? So I'm doing something similar. So I'm doing 1031 change, I'm doing text seminars, inviting CPAs. So those things are very helpful inviting real estate attorney talking about evictions during COVID. Very useful information, and we don't do sales. It's just being out there. I think people responding to my seminar, and then it's a relationship building. And I don't really know. I haven't done my statistics. I don't really know whether I generated leads from that or not. But I just feel like I'm making connections with people without being able to see them in person.
Who else has taken some of their lead generation online or done? Yeah, Chris, go ahead.
I do a podcast on Apple. It's just Real Estate with Chris Alston, which I'm finding a pretty good response rate. We're getting really good hits. Sometimes, you have several hundred, if not thousands of hits on that, like what Coco's doing. But I don't do a lot of video. I should do more video, but I think I have more of a radio voice.
You do, Chris. I like video voice. I agree.
But what I would say is, but I wanted to say on the lead generation, we utilize Boomtown, which is very similar to Command, which is very similar to all the other ones. We started before Command started for Teams, but we are doing a lot of the advertising on what's my home worth on Facebook and Google AdWords. It's about $15 to $17 per lead that comes in, but the lead that comes in has an email address and a phone number, and then they all go on a drip system or a system to make sure that they're called, they're contacted. CMAs are sent out. The CMAs are created by the sub-agents to go to the team, and the team sends the CMAs out. Before COVID, we would door knock the house and et cetera. But we're finding those are leads that will end up selling, and we just have to stay in such consistent communication, because if I'm spending, $4,000 or $5,000 a month, $6,000 a month on leads, I need to make sure that that system is in place. So it's not about getting the lead, because anybody can generate leads. It's the conversion.
Right.
The hardest part. That's the part that we all need to master and become better at.
Chris, what did you say that was called for What's My Home's Worth? What is it that you use?
Oh, no. It just, you see the ads, what's my home worth? Hey, listing, tell me, what your home's worth. Those types of ad. It just means a seller ad.
Oh.
And what happens is people will call and say, well, that's just like Zillow, or it's just like whatever. And I say, well, hey, I understand what you're saying. Zillow is just an algorithm, which is completely out of date because everything's moving so quickly, so they can't catch up. So were you thinking about getting a valuation because you're thinking about selling or refinancing? You just brush right by it and throw the secondary question. Are you thinking about getting a value for refinance or selling? And then I can give you the same automated thing, but I'd like to send someone out to be able to share with you what we think the value of the property is. So
what I'd like to add, though, because I know that because I've been there before, as a newer agent, and I know that there's a lot of people probably viewing this, and they're probably getting very intimidated with all of the stuff that we're giving. And really, I think we would all agree it's a relationship business, and really start, at the grassroots with building those relationships, and the listings will come.
Hey, Jerry,
What I have seen has recently started working for me. I get a lot of buyers, and those are I don't even spend any money. From my videos, I get a lot of buyers. So what recently has started working more for me, when I'm talking about buyers, I am adding about sellers. That if you are a seller, your house match my buyer's criteria. If you're thinking about selling, so it's the same video, but in the beginning it's buyer, and then I add about seller selling and what are the things I can offer you for that. So a lot of time buyers, when they're moving from Bay Area towards seller, they're looking, but a lot of them are sometimes sellers as well. So they call me for more information. Oh, can you help me sell here? So that lead from buyer actually is converting to seller. And I have seen change. Before, I was just missing that part. When you're making a video, I make videos. That's it. I don't do much of anything else. But my business is from video. So my buyers already got attention, and I have a big database following my live videos and all. So now that database is listening to my opinion and my suggestion and advice on selling. So they are sending me questions related to that. So that is how I'm getting another new free listing leads. I don't spend too much money on that.
Yeah. Let me get Dean, let me have you go. And then Tony, I want you to share what you wrote.
Great, thanks, Jerry. I was going to say that one of the things that I've had success with lately is community service. And it's kind of a non-conventional way of lead generating. But I have to say that I've, over the last year and a half, and I was involved in starting a school on Maui 15 years ago. And I retired this a few months ago as the 8-year president of the board of trustees with over $500,000 in donations to the school over my 15 years. And I think that I was never really able to break into that high net worth group of really the top echelon of high net worth clients on Maui until I had given back in some major way like that. And that really enabled me to get into another level of network of people that really has helped me. And as I say, 3 years ago, I really didn't get any benefit out of that, or I didn't feel the benefit, but really over the last year, I think people are just so much more aware and so much more into the non-conventional, real estate conversations that really has been a great help for me. And I just listed a $12.9 million house for one of the board of trustees, was on my board. So that was a kind of a big, a big play for me, was to commit that heavily to community service. And I've really seen a great result from it, particularly as you get really high up into the high net worth ladder.
Yeah, the amount of passive wealth that goes into charity is astonishing. And so if you can start leveraging the networks in the charity community event, it's unbelievable. Tony, go ahead.
Hey, what's up, guys? Tony Arsandi, Tag Real Estate Team. So we use HomeBot. If you haven't heard about it, a lot of the lenders use it for their database. The HomeBot is great. It's got a huge open rate. We pretty much put all of our sphere of influence, past clients, like those types of people on it. We don't put our whole database on it, although I don't think it'd be a bad idea. But basically, it just gives them a monthly home value report that's just visually really nice, tells them how much equity they have in their home, tells them all kinds of good stuff, what they can Airbnb their house for. So knowledge is power, right? So if you give people a lot of knowledge, then essentially it helps them make a decision a lot easier. In addition to that, we actually turn our offline marketing into online marketing. So what I mean by that is make sure if you do still, put out postcards, letters, whatever, make sure you have a good call to action on there to generate an online lead. So, a lot of people just do a postcard, just has their information on it. Make sure you have something like to get your home value, to get more information, like use a call to action to get people to sign up and get an online lead. So it's a lot of what we do. It works really well. So hope that information was helpful.
That's awesome.
Very helpful, Tony. Thank you.
Okay, so we go ahead.
Sorry, Julie, do you mind maybe ask which kind of CRM people use? We actually don't have a CRM, so we're exploring right now. So I wanted to see whether anybody can share that.
Well, hot diggity dog. Let's talk about some CRMs.
Brivity.
Thank you.
We got a Brivity. We got
Using Command?
Command is what our company uses, right?
Correct.
I know, but are you guys all using that for the database?
No, we're not.
I think we're all of the mindset that Command is great for a lot of things and not great in some things. And until it's great in all things, it's tough to move away from what you're consistently been using. And so I think the secret to Command is taking it one step at a time. Facebook lead generation in Command is phenomenal. The direct mailing campaigns in Command are phenomenal. The smart plans are phenomenal. And there's some other stuff, maybe not so much.
Can I actually piggyback on that question is, I'll speak for myself. I am terrible at technology. So for me, the simpler, the ease of use, too many bells and whistles, and it's like 1, 2, 3, too many, right? Like I just lose it and don't end up using it. And my database is my phone. It's nuts. That's all I use. For those of you who are using different programs, which would be like the easiest for a dummy like me on technology? Just, hey, this is so simple to use, not lots of bells and whistles, but things that really matter, especially on database, that it's really effective.
Where's Diego?
None of you are dummies, I can tell, on technology.
I mean, come on. Yeah, give us some. What's a good simple CRM?
I have heard Chime has been an exceptional CRM for agents, especially with its mobile integration. I've heard really great things about that. And of course, top agents around the country using Follow Up Boss and Boomtown. Those two, and Brivity has been a pretty big success. Those four have been probably the top of all of the top agents that I interview, that I talk to. They're all using the
What's
system.
that other one you said, Joey? You said
Brivity, Chime, Follow Up Boss, Boomtown.
Boomtown.
I use LineDesk also. I use LineDesk. It's very good. And I like to add, Roy was saying that I'm not a technology person, and me neither. But when you start doing these things, CRM, like last week, I had a listing and I wanted to give a personal touch to my database of over 4,000 people. All I did is made a text message, and I have cell phone numbers of all the leads coming into my CRM. With one click, that text message from my cell phone was going out to 150 people at one time. And I was able to send that text message to over 3,000 people. All I did is made a text message, and I have cell phone numbers of all the leads coming.
Is that we all run our businesses in a unique way, and most of the technology we have has been built by people who understand technology. And so it's very challenging to find the right system, because the right system truly does not exist for the way we as individuals choose to run our business. So it really is, I'm sure some of you are using 3, 4, 5, 6 different systems to do all the different pieces of your business, because you've found a better system that works the way you want it to work versus the way it was designed within a system. So that's one of the reasons why this platform revolution is really coming to fruition, because it's challenging for us as agents, for us as top producers, to really gain the insights of what the piece of technology can do if we're all using different pieces of technology. It's challenging, right? I mean, Coco, you are looking for a CRM and you just got 7 recommendations. You're no closer to finding your goal, because everybody uses something different. So
I know I'm not very tech savvy, so I feel like, oh my gosh, I'm so backward.
You're not alone. You're not alone. That's how I feel. I was inadequate there.
Yeah, we all.
When I got into the business, I wish somebody would have told me database was a thing. Do you know how many buyers are in my phone as Jason 1 million, John 3 million? Like, that's just how we operate. And until we get a system in place, whatever system we choose to create, as long as there is one, we're good to go. So we've got about 10 minutes left. I want to open the floor up to you guys. Like Coco just said, what questions do you guys have for each other, so that I can shut up and you guys can do all the talking? What's on your brains? Like, what's getting in your way? What are you finding that you could use some support on from other people who may be doing it at a higher level?
One thing I would request, I think Chris talked about earlier, that how people are really looking as realtors as commodities now. And when you've got so many realtors who don't really have a lot of value in you were just literally, they're sort of the average Joes or Redfins of the world, right? 1% listings and all of that. I'd love to hear some elevator pitches, things like that you guys used to really differentiate yourself from everybody and say, at the end of the day, performance counts, experience counts, service counts. I'd love to hear some verbiage that people use that just really separates themselves.
So I have one thing, and I don't know how useful it is, but I find it very, very useful. There is a thing called bridge loans. I have a listing in Dublin, and I got a buyer, some other agent got them. So what they are doing is they have a house on sale for $2 million. And there is a private lender sitting, and it's a proper bank. They are lending them 1.5 million quick cash to close on my listing. So that's a very big resource when you're competing with other people, if you can connect and if your buyers are very desperate to buy and sell. So that bridge loans, when I go and meet any of my buyer or seller, that is one thing which I have to offer, my connections with that bridge loan services, which differentiates me from a lot of other agents. I can make money accessible for them and they can close in 5 days, even if they have $0, but they have a house to sell, because that is how this bridge loan works. So that's a very good tool I'm using, and I'm selling a lot. And that is one service which was actually being provided by Compass. I moved from Compass to here, which gives them a benefit because they have this concierge program and bridge loan services. A lot of banks offer it, but as an outside agent, when we have not heard or dealt with it, we don't know how it works. But it works absolutely fine. No hassle loans, 5 to 10 days close on transaction. Then the person sells their house and pay this private.
Which is nice because they don't have to go into contingency. I like that.
There you go.
You know, Rob, though, I've been playing with that idea. I'm glad that you brought this subject up because, you know, there's so many realtors out there and we're all fighting for a piece of that pie. And so I've been kind of playing on words. And some of the things that I've told my clients is, you know, obviously, you know, and I know we've all used the script where, you know, if they're going to cut their commission, what are they going to do for you? And are they really going to negotiate on your best interest and the highest and you know, and the skill level, right? Understanding how to negotiate in the contracts. But one thing that I had a colleague tell me, and I've been using it, and it's working. You know, obviously commissions are negotiable. And, you know, if I'm going to cut my commission, I, you know, obviously there's services. So I don't want to cut your services. But what I say is, you know, if you're interviewing other agents before you make your decision, if it's a commission thing, let's talk. Call me one last time. And a lot of times they'll say, okay, I'll do that. But it's a tough one right now. And I think we're all struggling with that because, you know what, once we start doing that, we're going to end up, you know, losing our value and we're going to start we work too hard to start cutting our commissions.
I have a relatively great script that I have my team in New York use, which is pretty simple. I have to basically take what everyone does down a notch so that we're all on the same level, right? So I'm very clearly like, look, if you're working with a top agent, everyone's going to take great photos. Everyone's going to take great video. Everyone's going to post it on the MLS. Everyone's going to run social media ads. We're all going to do the same stuff. And at the end of the day, you have to decide who it is you want to call when things are going great and who it is you trust to call when things aren't going very well. And this is a business about relationship. And then to add on to Janet's, I say, if it's an issue about commission, allow me the opportunity to win it. Just give me the opportunity to win. And if I can't, I'll tell you. But if I can, at least we know where we stand.
I like that, Joey. Thank you for sharing that.
I've tried to sell service. I've gone to my clients and said, I have ran against, 6% commissions are pretty darn hard now. 5% are starting to become even tricky. What I've always done is I say, hey, we're not going to let commission come in between this. If you're going to interview other people, go ahead and interview them. Give me a call at the end. And if you prefer to work with me, we'll work on something that'll work. I have found that to work really well, and I can still get a little bit more commission. And I try to sell them on the idea that working with our team, you're pushing the easy button. You're going to have your hand held from A to Z. You're not going to have to worry about having to do many of the things because our team will go ahead and do that for you. We get seller's disclosures, rental income, everything's done up front. So we're not pestering a seller. The goal here is the only time they're going to have to worry about anything on Fridays when they get their call about the reviews that what everybody has said about their property. And the one thing we don't do is we don't hold anything back. So if they continuously hear the same problem over and over, they know they have to fix it. Even though we go into escrow so fast, that's one of the things we try to do. But the key here, I think, is by having an open feedback form with, like, my listing manager talks with them all the time. I'll talk with them anytime they want. We have to answer the phone. It's one of the things that I put every single team member, they must answer. So I always try to say, you're paying for 5.5% commission, but you're pushing the easy button. You're not going to be stressed the entire way out. And I've gone against some of these brokerages that do like the flat fees, and they've decided to use us just on that basis, that they know they have somebody that's going to talk with them every day.
I think something you just said is so important, and I wish I could, if I could shout it from a mountaintop, I would do that. Answer your damn phones. Like, if you answer your phone, you are 80% better than every other realtor out there. Because we all do it. AT&T just told me that they're going to give me free call. They tell me who's calling. No idea who it is still. But answer your damn phones, y'all. We could do that. It's the little things we could do. It's a game changer.
and test your members. Use a fake number or a number that they don't know and call them. And we actually will do reports on Monday during our team meetings about who answered and who didn't.
Awesome. All right, we've got about 2 minutes. Is there anything else that we want to share before this quits? All right.
Well, I found another thing just for the rent back. Someone referenced earlier to offer free rent backs. We actually, for one of our sellers, got a year free rent back.
Wow.
Yeah.
Joey, I wanted to
$120,000.
That's awesome.
Crazy.
That is crazy.
Joey, I wanted to ask Manpreet about her videos. What content does she use?
I use any and every content. And when I'm showing a new construction, like other day I was at Meritage Homes, and they make homes little differently, which are more energy efficient. I liked it. I just made a video. I started getting so much response. If I'm at a home inspection and I see a little bit mold somewhere, I make a video. So I make video of anything and everything, and people love it. And I really don't care how I look, and people connect with me so much. I just make videos.
No, right? It's very time consuming when you make a video. You have to add to the video.
No. That is the thing. If I take my phone like this and I am just making a selfie or a kind of video, people don't expect me to be a professional videographer. And I don't edit at all. If I am, if something is not looking good, let people see it's natural and normal. If we start editing, some videos are 9 minutes long because I don't know how to cut them short. And some videos are only 2 minutes, but people like it.
The video. Where do you post the videos?
Everywhere. I have my YouTube channel and it's amazing. I have my Facebook videos live. I have my Instagram. And then if I make some coming soon small video, that goes to my database, which gets attention that, okay, it's being special if I'm sending my coming soon video to my database. No one has access to it, which is 2 minutes only. But I do all and every kind of videos related to houses, market, inspections, swimming pool, coming soon, sold, everything.
That's awesome.
Great, because it's very time consuming to make videos. So almost like we're trying to make videos as well, but almost have to give up sometimes, so busy, right?
No, trust me. So when you go to show a house, you are taking your camera, you're 5 minutes early. Take your camera, if it's your listing or whatever, or new construction, make a small video with your iPhone, and then just go to whatever your platform. If it is Facebook, just on the top, put 5-bedroom, 3-bath, beautiful house, just hitting the market. New listing coming soon, put on the Facebook, done. Your share, done. Because it's, again, professional, right? Like it's with my camera, selfie kind of made video.
That's
really set the standard for yourself that it doesn't have to be this big production. You don't need a newsroom in the back to post a video. You just need to be consistently posting conversation.
People connect with you more when, I have seen my videos are being watched with mostly women who are working home in the kitchen or something. Sometimes I can hear because the Bluetooth connects them to their TVs. So my video is on their TV and I didn't even make it that professional. And then, hey, we are watching your video. Is this house still available? So that's how you get these phone calls. And they connect with you so easily because you're looking just like a woman working in the kitchen, not like a model or something. So I like that. I really like it.
Fantastic. All right, guys, that is it for our time. I want to respect your time. Was this valuable? Should we do this once a month?
Yeah.
Would you guys be okay with that? Okay, great. Do you think, was the time frame good? Are we happy with where this is at? Do you want to go earlier? I know I'm asking 100 people that question, so good luck getting a straight answer.
I think if we're doing it once a month, then this kind of ends up being really long. Maybe keep it to an hour. But
keep it to an hour.
Joey, I just want to say thank you for doing this. You brought all these gigantic business owners together, and thank all of you for being the epitome of what KW culture is about. The collaboration just happened tons of aha shared. You guys can't see it in Zoom land right now, but we have over 100 people from our region watching you guys on Facebook. So thank you all for sharing, pouring into each other, pouring into everyone. And Joey, you're the man for putting this together. Thank you, sir.
I can blame Michelle Z for this too, because she said her agents want it. It happened. So thank you all for being here. We will make sure the next one is an hour, and we'll also make sure that we get more value out of the next hour next time.
And Thursday we have listing clinic with Gene Rivers. You guys want to join? Keep that vibe going for listings. Let's go.
Thank you, everybody. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody. Have a great
Any
day.
agent who's watching over here who closes 5 transactions and have enough time to take an hour to talk about listings, just look at these people, because they all make their time. They have an hour to talk about their business. Just put it out there.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
In like less than 15.
Any agent who's watching over here who closes 5 transactions and doesn't have enough time to take an hour to talk about listings, just look at these people, because they all make their time. They have an hour to talk about their business. Just put it out there.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
You guys, thank you all. I appreciate it. Bye, Susie. Bye, Courtney. I recorded this just so we all know.